It's a great
Ladies
routine.
and gentlemen, can I
Altman
get
did.
quiet on the set?
My
please?
name is Leonard Moon.
We are going live in 5. Hold your applause. 4, 3.
The machine, Bert Kreischer. The legendary Chef Altman. And now, live from the bowels of the world's greatest comedy club, it's the Comedy Club Night with your host, Hamilton. Welcome here. Thank you for coming. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Nice to see you here, guys. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for showing up. Nice to have you here tonight. I hope everybody had a great St. Patrick's Day on Sunday. I grew up believing I was Irish, but my DNA test came back, and turns out I'm just a drunk. But the good news is I could be the next tech billionaire. Yep, I just created a brand new app that sends a text message to every LA driver whenever the light turns green. Right. Now, I don't know if you heard this. Hollywood Boulevard, just yesterday, they had a robbery at one of the theaters on Hollywood Boulevard, a $500 robbery. The thief made off with a large box of popcorn, large Coke, and a box of Milk Duds. Meanwhile, up in Sacramento, you may have seen the news. On Friday, Governor Gavin Newsom just absolutely banned the death penalty in California. This morning, OJ was seen house shopping in Brentwood. Also, on this day in history, 40 years ago, Congress in Washington began televising their business on the floor of the House of Representatives. It was a huge success. It worked so well, it led to cameras being placed at all major crime scenes. Meanwhile, Burger King in Los Angeles just announced they're going to issue gold cards to celebrities, so the celebrities will eat at Burger King for free. At last, a plan to kill off celebrities. Now, I don't know if you heard this, but down in Hawthorne, the Mattel Corporation, they just announced yesterday that they're going to update Barbie and Ken doll collection to reflect what young people more look like today. For instance, the doll is going to have wider shoulders, wider hips, larger breasts, a knee-length skirt, and that's just Ken. Now, I don't know if you heard this, but in New York, this was big. This was the headlines the last 3 or 4 days. The head of the Gambino crime family. That's right, Frankie Boy Cali was murdered in front of his house in Staten Island. His assassin ran him over twice and then pumped him full of bullets. So, it was natural causes. Meanwhile, today, the president of Brazil visited the White House to discuss the rainforest. Did you all know that the Brazilian rainforest produces 20% of the world's oxygen? And 60% of the oxygen is wasted, though, by Trump and the media complaining about each other. I don't know if you heard, but Roman Catholics, cardinals, priests, they're all really upset at Saturday Night Live because they made a joke about pedophilia. I think they buried the lead here. You know, Saturday Night Live made a joke. It's been years. Meanwhile, today, Washington, D.C. is awash with bribery, hush money, and payoffs. And that's just to get your kid into Georgetown. Of course, you've heard about the admission scandal. There was no scandal about me getting into the University of Oklahoma, I tell you that, where I majored in Coors. I had a 3.2. Due to my high intellect, I was allowed to graduate after 3 terms. Nixon, Ford, and Carter. And just yesterday, the Democratic National Committee scheduled their very first presidential candidates debate in the Rose Bowl. They need a venue that big, not for the crowd, but for the candidates. President Trump said today he may go to the Correspondents' Dinner this year because they're honoring female journalists. And they've come a long way there. I think it was during the Clinton administration when women reporters at the White House finally stopped wearing those badges on their chest that read press. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this Democratic candidate yet, but his name is Andrew Yang. And he drew 3,000 people to his rally the other night calling for a universal minimum salary for every American. But this guy is adamantly publicly opposed to circumcision. What is it about Democrats hating the Jewish vote this year? Also yesterday, Nancy Pelosi took impeachment off the table. So, you see, it is possible to blink on Botox. Nancy said yesterday she wants to make it legal for 16-year-olds to vote. 16-year-olds, legal. It's the first ray of hope R. Kelly's had all year. And finally, New Mexico, their state senate on Friday banned the celebration of Columbus Day in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't know much about Christopher Columbus, except one thing. Christopher Columbus was the world's first Democrat. He left not knowing where he was going. He arrived not knowing where he was. He went back home not knowing where he'd been. And he did the whole thing on government money. All right, here's the deal. We've got a sensational show tonight. Comedy Store all-time legend Jeff Altman is back in town. We love Jeff. And we have a guy I cannot wait to meet. He's known as The Machine. You know him. Van Wilder was based on him, and I can't wait to meet him and enjoy him. He's already a big, big comedy star. Bert Kreischer is here with us. So, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We got a great crowd tonight. Thank you all. Welcome back to the Comedy Store tonight. Before I introduce our first guest, we have this commercial message for Bat Factory. That's right. Hey viewers, are you looking to spice up a summer outing? Teach children about nature and not have to deal with mosquitoes? You know what I, Argus Hamilton, do? I use a little service called Bat Factory. Bat Factory, which exists now in 26 states, is the industry leader in short-term flying mammal rentals. There are no hidden service charges or delivery fees when you place an order with Bat Factory. Whether you need 30 bats or 30,000 bats, Bat Factory is the service to call. Bat Factory has vampire bats, fruit bats, both old and new world loose-leaf nose bats, as well as some classic favorites, such as the New Zealand short-tail and, of course, every child's favorite, the giant golden crown flying fox. Sign up now with Bat Factory using offer code VESPERTILINFORMES for 50% more bats on your first order. But wait, there's more. If you order more than 10 bats within 30 minutes, they will arrive with free limited edition a Bat Factory whistle that only the bats can hear. And let me tell you, they love that whistle. Whether it's a bar crawl or a bar mitzvah, everything goes better with a giant mass of bats. I'm Argus Hamilton for Bat Factory.
You have no idea how quickly I'm ready to jump into this. I've been bit by bats twice. Swear to God, bit by bats twice. It is fucking terrifying. My name is Bert Kreischer. I'm a first guest on the show. I apologize that I'm steamrolling into it, but I got bit by a bat in Costa Rica the first time, and I was sitting. I was like, I had this little mark on my leg right here, and the waitress comes up and she goes, "What's that on your leg?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. It just showed up." She goes, "Oh, you got bit by a bat." We all laughed, right? I call Stanhope. Stanhope's like, "Don't worry, drink. You're gonna be fine, right?"
Don't worry, drink. You'll be fine.
That's not how it works.
Oh.
If you don't get a rabies shot within 3 days, you can die. I didn't get the rabies shot.
Oh.
I didn't get they were like, "Oh, pura vida, you're gonna be fine, bro. Hey, you need to live a chill life. Have a beer."
That's what happened. The bat died of alcohol poisoning.
Dude, you have no idea how much bats have been in my fucking life. I came back. I went to get inoculated. I was going to Africa. I used to work for Travel Channel, and then she goes, "Do you need a rabies shot?" And I go, "Oh no, I've already been bit by a bat." And she was like, she goes, that's deadly. Like, there's no coming. You can't fix rabies. And I went, "So what does that mean?" She goes, "If you have rabies and it shows up, you're gonna die."
Yeah.
You lay in bed with that all fucking night. When your back's hurting, you're like, "Oh, this is the rabies starting." Oh shit! Like, I'm thirsty as fuck. Oh, rabies. My dad almost bought a bunch of bats to keep in our backyard. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Because they're really good with insects. This is back when you thought AIDS you get it from insects. Anyway. Oh, you don't remember the old AIDS scare?
Was there any other reason he should worry?
No. But you just thought, oh, you don't want insects back here.
Not my son.
We're all gonna be full-blown AIDS in a week. But he almost bought a bunch of bats to keep in our backyard. Yeah, bats are fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So where did you go to college?
I went to school at Florida State. I was just written up today as one of the 5 celebrity alumni. Ready for this? Are you ready for this? Jim Morrison.
Wow.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
And then Christine Lottie or something. I'm sure Christine Lottie's going, "I don't know who Bert Kreischer is."
Well, now,
His name sounds like a fart.
what you don't know is that you and I were both extraordinary hellraisers in college, and Van Wilder, the movie, was based on you.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with the movie. I didn't write it. It's just that article came out. Oliver Stone's company optioned the rights to my life. Some of the screenwriters wrote a script. It got passed. The option fell apart. It got passed around Hollywood. National Lampoon picked it up, developed the script, made it. But I didn't do anything. I didn't make the movie. I wasn't involved. I didn't even make any money off of it. So, yeah.
But it was based on you.
Yeah, I guess.
And what you don't know is I was the social chairman for 5 years.
4 years.
5 years for me.
4 years.
5 years for
No,
me.
4 years for me.
Alpha, Tau, Omega.
I was an ATO2! I never mean it ever.
To bind men together
in a brotherhood based upon eternal and immutable principle, in a bond as strong as right itself and as lasting as humanity. To know no north, no south, no east, no west, but to know man as man. To teach that true men the world over should stand together and contend for the supremacy of good over evil.
To have no
That's all right, fucked up.
For the elevation of men than the outlines of the world.
These are the 2 merits. The 3 founding fathers: Otis Allen Baysbrook, Erskine Mayo Ross, and another white dude.
Yeah. It was Virginia, 1865.
Jesus Christ!
Yes, right.
How great is that? Oh my God! Did you get hazed?
Oh.
All right.
We call toes and elbows. So you're going to do a sit up, if you and they scream at you if you don't do what we just did within like 30 seconds and do the Greek alphabet at the same time.
Alphabetic
you get
killer.
on your elbows and your toes, and that's just it, touching the floor, and it works on the same principle as crucifixion.
So one night, one of our brothers goes, "Hey, we're gonna give him the old paper mache treatment. We're pledges, right?" And we're like, "What's that?" And he goes, "You guys get up on the roof. We're gonna eat outside. You guys throw flour on them, and then we'll hit them in the hose. Give them the old paper mache treatment."
Yeah.
We're like, "Okay." So we get up on the roof. We throw the flour in the middle of dinner. One of the pledges hits him with water, and then that brother goes, "Oh, they got you with the paper mache treatment. We should haze them." You know, it was Thanksgiving. They put pumpkin pulp in our mouths.
Yeah.
And in our hands and in our pants, and we had to stand there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Like, when they talk about Guantanamo Bay, I'm like, you should have fucking pledged in the 90s.
Lightweights, man.
Dude, the gayest shit in the world. Like when you go, how gay have you ever gotten? I go, oh, just shy of sucking a cock. Like, dude, we did this thing. We did this thing called sloppy biscuit, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's hell week. We're all naked,
Yeah.
blindfolded. Pledge book and paddles behind our hands,
Yeah.
behind our backs against the wall, and a brother comes in and he goes, "All right, we're gonna play a game called Sloppy Biscuit. In the middle of the room is a biscuit. Gentlemen, the last one to ejaculate on the biscuit has to eat it. Go!" And that is what we call a game time decision. First of all, are you the kind of guy that can get hard blindfolded, right? That's number one. Like, I need some visual stuff. Yeah. Number two, can you jerk off in front of, like, are you going to be rubbing elbows? You're sitting thinking about all these things going through your head, and then all of a sudden, this guy, we'll just call him the one-eyed purple people eater. That was his nickname. He's really a teacher at Penn State.
As long as he's not a coach at Penn State.
He taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Take your blindfold off," right? I'm totally naked. Yeah. Take my blindfold off, and two of our pledge brothers, Mike and Jeff, they know who they are blindfolded, masturbating furiously in the center of the room. And now you're watching all your other pledge brothers, 38 other guys, 40 guys, just taking their blindfolds off, looking around going, and then everyone's like, "Do we just let them finish?" First guy comes, and we give him a golf clap. As the golf clap starts, second guy comes. Dude, the gayest shit ever. It's like now they say if you take your dick out in public, it's sexual assault. That was called being in a fraternity. Yeah. Like, just like tucking it between your legs and walking into a room. Has anyone seen my dick? That was highbrow material back then.
Ollie Joe Prater used to open with that second show.
Dude, I had more jokes I could do with my dick and balls, with just them, than you could.
The material you came out of school with. Yeah.
Oh, dude, we used to do this thing where it was lights out, and then they turn the lights on, and you'd have to have a joke with your dick and balls. Yeah. So, obviously they'll wrap it around your wrist. What time is it? Like, look at these millennials. They never sexually assaulted their bst friend.
Lightweights.
Yeah. This is how bad it got in our fraternity house. Because there was a time right when the Me Too movement started, and I was saying to my wife, I go, "So you're saying that when my buddy Tony passed out and drunk in the lounge and I put my balls in his mouth, I raped him?" She was like, "Oh yeah, totally." I was like, and then he raped me the next. It got so bad. You don't understand. You don't understand. You have a fucking cakewalk of being a boy. You have no idea the fucking shit we went through with older guys. And you're like, you ever been telling a story to someone in the middle, you realize you've been sexually assaulted, and you're like, yeah, and then put an ice cube up my asshole, and everyone's like, "Oh, where did you grow up?" And I'm like, "Tampa." Anyway. It got so bad with balls in the mouth at our fraternity house, I'm not lying. We used to put denture cream on our lips when we drank so that our lips would stick together so no one could teabag us. By the way, I haven't even started. You know what? We used to do an anal chug. You know what an anal chug was? All right. You do a handstand, chest naked, totally naked. Yeah. You and your best friend in the fraternity, right? Mine was Jeff. And so, same guy they jacked off. So you do a handstand, totally naked, junk facing the wall, right? Face facing the wall. Then he takes a cup to the small of your back and pours a beer in your anus, and it drizzles into the cup. And no, we're not done. No, I guess you're not ATL material, huh? And then he does it. You do it to him, and then you switch, right? So now I've got his anal chug, he's got my anal chug, arms around, and murder it. Dude, that's what makes a man. I could do this. I could do this for 2 fucking hours.
And listen, what they don't understand is that it wells you, it bonds you to your pledge brothers forever. I mean,
have
you
no
are so
idea.
close. It's
I
like
see-
Marine
I-
basic training.
I see those guys now. They come out to my shows, and they'll say stuff like you'll have your assistant or a tour manager or someone going, "Hey, how do you know Bert?" And they're like, "I could put out his dick in a lineup." And they're like, you know, get in here. His right nut hangs really low. He's got old-looking balls, like Abe Lincoln in a headlock. Like it's so funny. I know those guys like. I
mean, you are brothers forever after going through pledge.
You really are, and it's the silliest thing. And I guess it's like now they would say that it's destructive to an ego or self-esteem or whatever. But they broke you down to a point where like there was a point where you were all just like fuck those guys because it was you against the brothers.
Yeah.
And you guys got so tight. I saw the two guys that got hazed the hardest. I saw them. They're like the wealthiest guys in Tampa right now, but all the older guys were at my show.
Yeah.
I was just at the Tampa Theater. All the older brothers were at my show, and they came in. They started breaking balls, and one of the guys was like, "Nah, man," and like it's like immediately, I'm getting chill bumps. We like bonded together just like we were pledges.
Yeah.
I know that fraternity's got such a bad rap with all the raping that we did, and like not me, but collectively, it was a horrible. It was a horrible set of skills that these boys walked into. But
Now you couldn't rape another man at the house without a woman's permission.
yeah, exactly. I never saw sexual assault of like guy on girl at our fraternity, but guy on guy. Dude, we used to do shit like you'd be sitting in your room in your room in the house, and all of a sudden you hear, tss, and you'd be like, and you'd hear fire in the hole, and they would have lined up under your door with bottle rockets and just lit them, and just, and there you on your couch, just motherfucker, dude. I'm glad I'm done that. Like, I'm glad I'm alive. Like,
Yeah,
because
you're tougher because of it.
the one thing I would say, I would argue, and I know this is going to get me in trouble, but like I would argue that hazing was good. It helped define me who I was. Those low parts, I'll never forget it. It's like the salad days where you remember waking up at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday, hungover. Someone's like, "Hey, you got a dip of Copenhagen?" You're like, "Oh yeah," and you're cleaning the house. It's reeks of
6
beer.
in the morning on Sunday after a huge party.
And there's throw up everywhere.
Squeegee
and I learned how to mop. Like, I remember going in to mop, and one guy's like, "You don't mop worth shit." I was like, "Yeah, white privilege. I don't know how to fucking mop." And I to this day, I tell my daughters how to mop, and they're like, "How do you know how to mop?" I was like, "Thanks, Sean Simonson." But but there was that great bonding moment where you have that. I see. Yeah, it's so crazy. I never thought we were going to talk about this.
Well, I really think that the kids today are robbed by thank God there weren't cell phone cameras when we were in school. Oh my God.
You know, I have panic attacks about that because I know there were guys with cameras and video cameras around, and I do not know what came out of my mouth.
I'll give you a hint. There were bleachers outside my window at the ATO house.
Over.
Yeah, Friday night was showtime. I'd be dead. I would be dead right now.
I mean, you look back at some of the things you said, just the things you said flippantly.
The songs we had.
Oh, you ready? Wait,
Let's stay in show business.
Yo-ho. I put my dick upon her cheek, yo-ho. You ever heard this? You never heard this? Oh, this is a good one. Just sing along. I put my dick upon her cheek, yo-ho, yo-ho. I put my dick upon her cheek. She said, "Hey, buddy, I'm way too meek. Put it in, put it out. We're fucking about, yo-ho, yo-ho." You never heard this? I put my dick into her mouth, yo-ho, yo-ho. I put my dick into her mouth, yo-ho, yo-ho. I put my dick into her mouth. She said, "Get it in, get it out, we're fucking about, yo." That song was horrible. It ends with her dying, us burying her, then digging her body up, and we dig her up every now and then, yo. By the way, I don't condone any of this. We dig her up every now and then, yo. We dig her up every now and then. We fucked her once and we'll fuck her again. Dude, this was life in the 90s. Yeah. Like, you have no idea. This is like it's like kind of like, I mean, you look at like just the movies back then. The movies that we watched. I watched 16 Candles with my daughters.
Yeah.
And the part where the blonde girl gets drunk, they cut her hair, and then Jake gives her to the nerds and goes, hey, fuck her, have fun with her, you know? She's drunk, she won't remember, and then he fucking rapes her. Yeah, does anyone remember that? Yeah. That's how we learned how to meet women. That was the grooming that was taught to us. 16 Candles. Hey, mate, sometimes you'll be the nerd and you'll fuck the drunk chick who doesn't remember it, but she'll fall in love with you, just like the girl from Revenge of the Nerds when he wore the Darth Vader's mask and raped her in the bounce house. This is what I'm talking about, people.
Grooming.
That was like those were the movies you saw, and that was socially acceptable. Yeah. Porky's. Hey, sometimes you gotta drill a hole in the girl's locker room and watch them shower, and then put your dick in there, and then probably someone will play with it. It's amazing the growth, like, because some of your friends, like I'm sure you run into some of your friends who haven't had the growth that you get when you move to one of the coasts, and you're kind of like. I'm definitely not woke, but I'm definitely like 1997 woke. Like, I'm the most liberal guy at Florida State in 1997. The guy they thought was a lunatic in 1997, I'm that woke right now. But
you push for integration then.
I have a gay friend, and I'm cool with it. No,
That's 97.
I have an Indian roommate.
Yeah.
Like,
you watch Seinfeld every Thursday.
I watch Seinfeld. I voted for Bill Clinton. So, but yeah, you look at like. You meet some of those guys that you hung out with back then, and they haven't evolved at all. And they're still like, and like I remember I was at a casino, the Improv down in Fort Lauderdale. One of my buddies texted me. He goes, "Are you at the Improv?" I go, "I am." It's like a Thursday or Wednesday. Get in, do Thursday press, and he's like, "Dude, strip club." And you know, immediately I grew up in Florida, so you're like, oh yeah, strip club, definitely. Not remembering I'm like 45, 43 at the time. I have 2 kids who are like young ladies. You know, they're like teens, right? So they're only a few years off what will be table dancing for us in a second. We get there and like the first stripper comes up, she's like, oh my God, I'm a big fan. I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, free lap dance for you. I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, my name's Georgia. That's my oldest daughter's name. And I'm like, And I tell my buddy, and he goes, you know, we got to clear our heads. Let's get into the bathroom. And he cuts a line of Coke, and I'm like, immediately I'm like, oh, I'm on blood pressure medicine. Like, I can't be doing Coke. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't want this person anymore. Get out of here. Give me an Uber. Only the back XL. But yeah, it's amazing. God damn it, I have not talked about fraternity shit in forever.
Alpha Tau Omega.
It was such a
cause we hold so dear.
I wonder what it's like now. I'd love to see what the kids go through now and what their pledgeship is like. They're like.
Well, I know this. I visited my house about last June. They built a brand new one.
Where'd you go?
No,
Louisiana. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we went to Florida State on a spring walkout where I had a friend that was a tri-delt. She set us up with 10 dates. We went to that pond at Florida State in its RV and shot off fireworks and had a ball. We love Florida State. Florida State was a girls' school originally, right?
Yeah, Florida State was a girls' school. Florida State was a girls' school. UF was the guys' school. And I'm telling you, just to paint a picture, the Florida campus was like flat and sterile, like a gymnast.
But they've got a great ATO chapter.
They've got a huge house, huge house. We had the shit houses that were like leftovers. And all the girls had the beautiful houses. Right. It was the opposite of Florida. Our house was so bad. We had this older guy come in. His name was Dean, I think. He was like 46. We don't realize how creepy that is now. Like, he was 46. He's like, "Mom, my wife kicked me out. I'm ready to party." And we're like, "Hey, the guy seems cool, right?" And then he was a retired contractor. Like, he had been a contractor at one point. He was like, why don't we renovate this house? And we're like, yeah. And he was like, super simple. Tear out the walls, put up sheetrock. That's all you got to do, boys. And so we renovated the entire house. And they caught on fire. It burned. They said it burned faster than anything they've ever seen burn in their life. Yeah. God dang.
Yeah, white boys doing sheet work.
Dude, I did my own sheetrock. I haven't done anything like that since.
You know what? Tell me what you're doing next, so I can.
I'm on tour right now. I'm doing the Body Shots World Tour. I'm going to Europe and Australia. Europe in April, Australia in June. I'm finishing out my last 2 weeks of the tour this week in Utah and Colorado, then Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis.
Are you in Los Angeles the next couple of weeks?
I am.
So you'll be here at the Comedy Store.
No. Next couple weeks I'm on tour, but then for like I have 4 weeks off before I go to Europe. I'm going to be here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, so I want to come see you, man. You're a riot.
Oh,
I
dude.
love you already.
Dude, I've been a big fan of yours forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bert
you.
Kreischer, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Comedy Store tonight. Before I introduce our next guest, we've got a real commercial to do for you. We have a book here called Stand Up Decoded. Be as funny as you think you are. This is a book written by a Comedy Store warrior named Lou Deck, who was Mitzi's very special assistant for many years, performed at the Comedy Store Westwood, opened for Ollie Joe Prater on the road for years. And so you can imagine the stories he has. And he's written a book that lets you know how to do stand-up, tips, pictures, a lot of history of the Comedy Store and his illustrious career. But this thing it'll teach you how to be a stand-up comic if you're willing to put in the work and face the audiences every night and get better and better. Lou Deck's book will coach you right along. Stand Up Decoded. All you have to do is just Google the book. Stand Up Decoded, Lou Deck, and you'll have yourself a terrific book on your hand if you want to learn how to do stand-up. Another thing is, since one of our particular sponsors is Bacardi Rum.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm 32 years, 4 months sober. Rum is my sponsor now. Lou Deck, the author of Stand Up Decoded, says he will buy a Bacardi drink for everyone in the crowd tonight after the show. What Lou doesn't know is that after the show, this is an AA meeting. but it's the gesture that you know what? I cannot say enough great things about this next guest. When I first came to the Comedy Store, he was one of the very top guys and stayed that way for forever. And he was always really nice and supportive to me over at the Comedy Store Westwood. We all love this guy. And he's flown back from North Carolina in order to appear on this brand new documentary that another Comedy Store alum, the great Mike Binder, is putting together for Showtime. It's going to be, he's interviewing all the comics from our era and since, putting together the story of the Comedy Store with Mitzi and all the comics. And it's not the Comedy Store without this next guy. Did all the TV shows, had his own on NBC. You've got him now. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jeff Altman. You've moved to North Carolina.
Had to.
Yeah.
The authorities here said either get out or get married. So, so I wound up marrying a girl that I knew in high school.
Really?
Sitting back there now, and Bonnie Goldstein Altman.
Hi,
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie. Nice to meet you.
We went to high school together. Never dated.
Yeah.
And I guess it had to do with my personality, but anyway, we got married 3 years ago. So
Well,
we're very happy.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Bonnie, I hope you know how many years we worked together, night after night.
right.
Westwood, Sunset, Main
Sunset,
Room,
Main Room, all
La Jolla.
La Jolla.
Oh man,
I'll never forget the night Buddy Rich was here. Remember that night?
Unbelievable.
Remember the night Buddy Rich, the greatest drummer that ever lived, was playing in the main room, and they were rehearsing. And all of a sudden, Argus was told by somebody to stop the show and reset. So Argus, Buddy's playing along, hey, Buddy's going nuts, and Argus comes out and goes, okay, that's it, stop the show. Buddy goes, what the fuck is going on here? I don't understand shit like this. You understand? You don't step in front of my band and tell me what to do. I tell you what to do. Remember that?
And at the actual show, when they finally did the show, it was one of the greatest moments I've ever seen at the Comedy Store personally.
Right.
Mitzi completely packed, I say Buddy Rich completely packed the main room.
Right.
This, by the way, for you millennials, he was the world's greatest drummer, and he had an orchestra around him, and he had been in show business since he was 3 years old. The Jewish prince from New York, I'd say.
That's right.
But I mean, the world's best drummer and a tremendous personality, Buddy Rich.
Never in a fraternity.
No, there were rules back then. There's a reason there's a cross on the chimney. So, Buddy was playing in the main room. Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon, let's see, Pat McCormick. They came
Somebody
in.
went and grabbed.
I did.
You went and grabbed Pat and said, Pat, somebody in the original room is doing Johnny.
Yeah, I
So
went.
I'm on stage.
Do your love story thing.
Oh, well, I don't know if
remember?
I remember the love story thing, but
Okay,
I'm standing on stage.
No, you are doing Johnny Carson as Preppy in Love Story. And I'll do the music.
Doc is not here tonight.
No.
Doc is not here tonight. I don't remember the
How
bit.
much time has she got left, Doc?
How much time has she got?
And what he didn't know while he was doing Johnny Carson on stage in the original room, I went next door in the main room, got Johnny Carson out of the main room.
And I hear this. This is what I hear. I'm standing on stage going, Doc is not here tonight. Ed is not here. And this voice goes, geez, I don't think you're doing that just right. And up walks Johnny Carson. So I said, Johnny, do a few minutes. Do a 5 minutes. And he did 5 minutes, and it was just great.
One of the great nights
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
in the
And then
original.
as you left the stage, I said, gee, I'll bet you folks didn't know how strong an opening act I carried.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You also have a great story. I've known hundreds of guys here and ladies. I've never heard how you got started here at the Comedy Store till Mike Viner said you've got a great story on how
Well,
you got started.
the very first time I came into the Comedy Store was 1974. By the way, I'm in my late 80s now. And 1974, and somebody in the audience said Syracuse, which you know is my hometown. And I stood up and I went, yay! Somebody came over, I think it was George Hirschman.
Oh, of course.
Came over and tapped me on the shoulder saying, I'm sorry, but the owner, Missy Shore, would like you to leave. So I walked out saying, I'll never come back to this shithole again. 2 months later, I was begging Mitzi to go on stage when there was nobody there. It was a Saturday night, and there was about 30 people in the audience, and no comics left. Nobody was left to go on stage. So I walked over to Mitzi. I said, Mitzi, I do a few impressions. Can I go up on stage and try it? She goes, what's your name? I said, Altman. She said, okay, Altman, go ahead up on stage and try it. So I went up on stage, did my impressions, and the rest is history.
What impression did you do? You remember?
I did most of David Fry's act.
Great impressionist who had Lyndon Johnson and Nixon down pat.
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff with Nixon back then. And remember the Richard Nixon Soul Review?
I was doing it before you got here. Dun, dun, dun.
Just don't do it on stage.
All right. That's a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And then when Billy Crystal was getting a lot of mileage doing Muhammad Ali, And it's just as Muhammad Ali's career started to slide downhill in the late 70s, you were the one to pick up on the guy who knocked him out unexpectedly, Leon Spinks. And you created a character called Leonard Moon.
Oh boy. Can't do that today.
I tried.
Leonard Moon came out actually of the character of George Foreman, early George Foreman.
Oh.
And I would tell a story because Ali was my hero, and I'd get on stage, I'd do a little, the greatest of all time, Joe Frazier, sharp as a razor, but I said I was good, I proved it once and for all, of all times. So I do a little Ali and then say, you never know who he's going to fight. You know, the next guy's going to come along. The guy didn't go to grade school. The guy didn't go to high school. The guy didn't go to college. Just some idiot. And this guy said, the next heavyweight champ of the world. And then you'd see me go, my name is Leonard Moon, and I don't have the brains of a fucking ice cube. How do I spell relief? I don't know. My favorite team is the Minnesota Twins, but I have never seen them both together. Very popular in today's culture.
And what happened when you got knocked out?
What? Oh yeah, I think what was the line? I said, my manager told me, Leonard, if you get tapped on your jaw, just stay down until 8. Stay down until 8. I looked up at the clock. It was only 7:30. Okay, a PC crowd. That's
You're obviously doing a Canadian.
yeah, that's right. I'm doing a Canadian. That's right.
What do you do now in North Carolina?
I do a lot of sleeping and take a lot of medicine.
Oh yeah.
I had my back done. I had my back operated on 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, they opened up my back, put in rods and steel and everything like that. I'm like
Did all
$1 million
you
man.
did a lot of pratfalls.
You know, I think that's what caused it. You know, all the stuff I used to do, and it just takes its toll after a while.
Wow. Well, funny you should say that because when I went to the Betty Ford Center in November of '86,
I remember that. I remember that well.
I got to cut in line because I was ready to go, but Chevy Chase had gone over the fence, and because he didn't want to do the duties you're supposed to do, like clean and sweep and stuff. So after 2 weeks, he left the Betty Ford Center. That created, you know, the opening for me to go in. The reason Chevy was in there was because he had thrown his back out on Saturday Night Live doing all those pratfalls
Really?
with Jerry Ford. You got that? And so he injured his back. He got hooked on the painkillers from treating his back problems doing Jerry Ford. So he wound up having to go to Betty Ford to treat himself for doing Jerry Ford. I swear to God, those painkillers, they are tough.
I will never forget the night I was sitting in Mitzi Shore's home, way in the back, you know, that back room.
Yeah.
And in the room was Richard Pryor, me, and Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And Richard was a little jealous of Chevy because Chevy had just come out of nowhere, and pow, here he is, a huge star. And so he said, you know, you're pretty good. You're all right, my friend. And Chevy went,
Thank you, Richard. I'm really happy to meet you and be here tonight.
so Richard takes down his pants, turns around and goes, okay, now fuck me, man. Come on, Chevy, fuck me, man. Chevy continued sitting there going,
That's really nice to meet you. Pryor, and
later on, he took all of his clothes that were in a suit bag and ran around outside and was waving them around. And finally, Mitzi calmed him down and things got back to normal.
Yeah, Mitzi ran an elegant salon.
Oh my gosh.
Greeted many a dawn at that bar.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
those were
That's
the
right.
days. And so you started in the mid-'70s, worked your way up to your own NBC, your own variety show on NBC. I got to go to NBC for the party.
You did?
Yeah.
It didn't last very long. The show lasted 5 weeks.
Yeah.
This was a
Crazy premise.
A crazy premise. The brainchild of Fred Silverman. RCA owned 2 girls who worked in Japan called Pink Lady, and all they spoke was Japanese. And they came over here and they decided that if they could break them on NBC, they would have a giant, huge contract with these girls over here, and they would be huge television stars. So they got a list of all the people that were under contract to NBC, and it said,
Okay, we'll go down the list here. Oh, Altman. Altman, let's use this boy.
so they got me and 2 Japanese girls who couldn't speak English and created a variety show. And I'll never forget when I walked in. I'll never forget. First day I walked in to meet the girls, and I said, "Girls, how are you?" Because we were told they could speak fluent English. I said, "Girls, how are you? It's very nice to meet you. How was your flight over?" They said, "Hello, Jeff." What the fuck did you just say?
And they put it on Saturday night just when all the World War II veterans are watching TV.
Saturday Night Live did a sketch of the show. The show was called Pink Lady and Jeff. And they did a sketch on Saturday Night Live called Pink Lady and Carl, with Carl Sagan as the... It's a true story.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Which was your favorite talk show to do?
Well, I think probably everybody comes out here to do the Tonight Show,
Yeah.
and you did that show so many times.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and so I think being on the Tonight Show with Johnny and curling him up once with a joke was probably the high point of my career, and then being on the Letterman Show so many times.
Yeah, you were on with David all the time.
Yeah, I was on a lot, and
You hung out with David a lot.
Yes, I did. I was fortunate enough. I would send him a nice Christmas gift every year, and then he'd hang out with me for 5-10 minutes a year.
He had you on the show.
No, he did. He had me on the
You
show.
and Miller and Dreesen, he stayed loyal to his friends.
Yes, he did. He was very, very loyal and great guy, and I still talk to him all the time. And
Yeah.
he's
Genuinely funny. guy.
genuinely funny guy. He's got that new Netflix series. I don't know if you've seen it, where he interviews people, and he's got 6 more that he's doing now. So,
Yeah. Well, we wish him luck too.
yeah.
So tell me what, you have any comedy in your future at all?
I'll be honest with you, Argus. I haven't worked since Gunsmoke. And, you'll go home tonight and think about that and think.
That wasn't funny. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny, yeah.
What was it Don Rickles once said to James Arness, who played Matt Dillon? He said, "Jim, you're starting to worry me. The last time you kissed your horse, it looked like you meant it."
I'm here to relax in North Carolina. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a wonderful place. They have great medicine, and believe me, I can use some. I went to college in Baltimore.
Yeah.
4 years.
Johns Hopkins?
4 years. 2 years as a patient.
But Johns Hopkins was tough to get in.
Yeah, it was.
Because I always thought you and Emily Levine were the two, and little Roger Bear. You all were like the 3 smartest comedians I knew.
Not if you saw my act. God bless Roger, though. He's gone now,
Yeah.
and he was really a close
Greatest
friend.
singing impressionist.
Greatest singing impressionist of all
time.
times. Of all times.
I don't know if Roger and Roger, something else.
Oh, they were great. They were great.
So, Mitzi, how did she help you and inspire you to make you?
She put me on stage for the first time in my life. I was just a kid out of college who'd, done some stuff at fraternity parties, and nothing like Mr. Kreischer, but
He doesn't know, but the 90s was lightweight compared to the 70s. Trust me.
oh yeah, that's right. And so I just remember her that first night, putting me on stage when there was nobody there to get to go on, and the care that she took and the love that she had for people like yourself and Thomerson
And you.
Miller. Well, and it was a fraternity of all of us.
Yeah, it was.
And now we see each other. It doesn't matter what small differences we had among ourselves.
I don't remember.
No, we never did.
No.
We never did, except when I asked you if I could do a joke, and you said, "No, that's my best joke. I don't want to."
Well, you wound up doing it better than me anyway.
No. But the fraternity of comedians now, when you see somebody that you haven't seen in 30 or 40 years, man, it's just. Greg Gilbert was here tonight, and that was.
We break right into the old.
Oh,
stories
you
of
just
media.
give each other a hug, and it's great to see you.
So if there are any young comedians watching the show tonight, this is the payoff. It's the memories you get from hanging out and doing things together when you're young and growing. And almost the most disappointing time in your career is when everybody starts getting successful and goes off into their own orbits because you don't get to hang out and cause trouble together.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, give it up for Jeff Altman. right back with a closing ad, our closing and a pitch for Bacardi rum. Right into this.
Wow.
Welcome back to the show. What a fantastic show we've had, right? I certainly want to personally thank our sponsor, Bacardi Rum, because the good people at Bacardi, well, they want you to enjoy the rum responsibly. The writers here, Josh and Kevin, are incapable of that. That's right, the delicious, smooth taste of Bacardi. It gets Josh and Kevin every time. And before you know it, they are painted on my shoulders, telling me all their deepest fears and show business dreams. I could sue them both for inappropriately touching me. Bacardi, boy, is this a great one. The original, it's not frat party, it's fraternity party. So it's serum. I hate it when GDIs write the comments. So here we go. From the House of Lords, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Lauren Taines for producing me. I'm not here without her. And I want you all to friend me on Instagram. Is it friend me? Is that what you said? Follow me on Instagram and I'll follow you back. Got that? And I want to thank director, writer, brilliant Mike Binder. I was just thinking about him last night, watching the Billions premiered last night on Showtime, and he's a major reason why that's such a success. And he's doing the documentary on the Comedy Store that you're all going to be seeing in about a year. It's going to shake the world. And he's got a tremendous number of projects. We love him. He and I ran together for the first 5 years, and we won't forget a thing about it. And that keeps us honest. It's called mutually assured destruction. So we will see you next week. I want to thank, of course, Brett, our director, and then Schmitty in the booth, and want to thank Josh and Kevin. We put together a great monologue together, and I sure want to thank this crowd. You're the best crowd we've had. Thank you so much. I'm Argus Hamilton. Thank you.